Hey guys, it's Kylie, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make some custom Minnie Mouse ears. So recently I've been into making custom Minnie Mouse ears. I've looked into this for a while on how to make them and getting the supplies and stuff, so I finally dove into it and have made a bunch. I think I've made 7 different pairs of ears. So this one will actually be like my 8th pair of ears making, and I'm super excited to show you how I make them and the steps so that you can make them at home if you'd like. It's very simple. There's just a few things you need, and I'll show you all of those. But I'm just going to show you some examples of different ones I made. So I have these Star Wars ones on. I'll actually take them off. So I have these Star Wars ones. So they have a white ribbon in the middle that says Star Wars through the middle. And then on the front, it's got the X-Wing and the Millennium Falcon. And on the back, it's got a TIE Fighter. And I think this is one of Darth Vader's ships. But it's like kind of dark side on the back and light side on the front. So that's one of the pairs. This is a simple pair themed after Minnie Mouse. So it's got a white bow with the red ribbon through the middle. And then Minnie Mouse like polka dot ears. And then this next one I have here is themed after Up. So I had found cloud ribbon and this pattern, which actually, so what made me buy the cloud ribbon was this fabric, was this super cool cloud pattern. It's just like, it looks kind of like balloons. That's what made me think of it like Up. So this is a super awesome Up pair. And then another one I have, and you'll see some of these more in videos, is this ice cream pair. I thought this was super cool and be super cool for like the cruises and stuff, was this ice cream, or like a food and wine festival would be like something like this. So I'm gonna put the rest of these ears to the side. I'm actually gonna take off the Star Wars ears for now, and I'm super excited to show you how I make them, and yeah, let's get started making them. So for this, you're gonna need some sort of fabric. I'm using these for Flower and Garden, so I have this like flower themed fabric, and then I have this teal for the bow because I thought it would accent this piece of teal really well. You can either get a plain headband, or actually I've previously fabric covered this headband, so I'm going to use this one just because I think it matches. It's pretty easy to do. You just cut out a strip, because I'm not going to be showing you in this video how to do this. You just cut out a strip longer than this, the size of the headband, and you cut out then you glue the fabric on just from the inside ends, and then once you do that, you make little slits. You can kind of see right here, and you fold each slit over with a nice little layer of glue. And a lot of people put ribbon through the inside. I find that it works just as much to put a little bit more of the same fabric color. Totally up to you. It's all like personal preference. So I'm perfectly fine with this. Some people like it. It does look a little cleaner if you put ribbon through the middle. So some people like to do that. I will say the headbands need to be about 1 inch in width, just so you have room to be able to fit your ears on. You also will need some sort of ruler or measuring tool, a Sharpie and a pencil, some sort of template. I'll leave the template that I use in the description down below, but it is 3 things actually on the template, but I'm going to use the ear cutting line and the ear sewing line. And then some sort of trim. I've used this rope one on some of mine. I think I might try using this flower one, but not sure. I might just end up with the rope one because I really like the way that looks. But some sort of trim for this, and you will need a hot glue gun. Mine's plugged in and heating up so that it's ready to go whenever we're ready for that. Oh, and actually one more thing you're going to need is some cardboard. So this is just an old Amazon box that I'm going to cut open, and this is kind of the base for your ears. So let's get started building them. So to start, we're going to take our Sharpie and our cardboard, and for this we're going to take the ear sewing line. So this is the smaller of the two, and we're just going to draw it onto the cardboard. So I like to try to fit as many as I can on the pieces of cardboard, and then I'm actually going to use the small side of it, and then we're going to cut those out of the cardboard. So the easiest thing to do is just take it and trace it. I've traced 4 ears out, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It is now time to cut them. I didn't say this in my supplies, but you are going to need some sort of scissors or X-Acto knife. I like to use the scissors better, but a lot of people use an X-Acto knife just to, if that's what they're more comfortable with. So I'm just going to take each ear and cut these out. Your goal is to make them about all the same size, so that's why you have the template. So try to cut them like right on the black line and keep that consistent for all of your different ears. So once you have your 4 little circle pieces, kind of missing a little ear piece, I guess you would call them, cut out. I like to line all 4 of them up. Some people do 2 and 2, but I like to line all 4 of them up perfect so that they line up, because you want to make sure that they're all the same size and that there's not like a piece that's like bigger on one of them, because you are going to be taking them and taking 2 of them each and gluing them together. So you don't want your ear to be like bigger on the back half than it is on the front half. So I'm just taking it and like trimming it up a little bit so that it's all the same size. And you also want to make sure that there's no pointy ends. So if there's any pointy ends, kind of right here is kind of pointy, just like to trim it up a little bit and make sure that they all match perfectly, or as close to perfect as you can get. So now that they're all 4 together in the same size, I'm just going to put those to the side, and I'm going to take out the fabric that I want for my ears. So I am using this. I got all of my fabric at either AC Moore, which doesn't actually have a big selection, but that's kind of my local craft store, or Walmart. I have to say Walmart had the best selection of fabric. It's where I got the Star Wars fabric, and actually a couple of the Disney prints was just at Walmart. So I'm just opening up my fabric that I'm going to use. This is what I'm going to use for my ear design. So I'm going to take this. It is the ear cutting line template, and I like to draw them on the back of the fabric, and just because some of them are dark and it's hard to see. So I'm just going to kind of line it up where I want it to be, and I'm going to trace it. However, I'm not going to trace this bottom curve because I'm going to leave a little extra fabric so that when I'm stuffing the fabric, oh yeah, that's another thing you need. Keep forgetting things on my list. You are going to need a little stuffing unless you want to keep your ears flat. I prefer them to have a little arc to them, so you will need some polyfill. I'll show you that when I get to actually stuffing them and putting them together. So I'm just going to take my Sharpie again and trace out this ear cutting line template. I have to say, if this one isn't perfect and it's a little big, you'd rather it be a little big than a little small, just because having a little extra fabric is better than having not enough. So once I trace the first one, I'm actually leaving, see this little gap between the 2 of them, just so I have some extra fabric that I can cut when just to be able to fold over the bottom of it. So once you have all 4 drawn, I have 3 down and then 1 over there, you're just going to trim them off. I'm going to show you kind of what I would leave for extra on the bottom. So when I come in from the side, I like to take the end, so right here is the end, and just kind of turn it vertically and cut it straight down for a little bit and leave almost like a centimeter at the bottom across. Just so you have extra fabric. You can always trim that off later. You'd rather have too much, like I said before, than not enough. So then I just go to the other side and do the same thing. And then I cut around the Sharpie. I like to go a little bit outside the Sharpie just so that I have a nice big piece of fabric to be working with. So now that I have my 4 things cut, I'm just going to take that fabric and fold it up and put it away. And I'm going to cut out 1 more strip of fabric, and this is going to be the fabric for the bow in the middle, and then I'll take everything to glue it. So when making a bow, you're going to need, I sometimes do 1 color of fabric for the whole bow, and other times you might have noticed the strip in the middle a different color. I think for this one I'm going to stick to doing it all 1 color, but if for some reason I don't seem to like it, I'll just switch and cut out a new strip. So for this part is what you need your ruler for. So the bow, to make the bow, you want to have it 11 inches across, and this is why I have the pencil, is just to trace this out. 11 inches across and 8 inches up, like height. So it's 11 by 8 is the piece of fabric that you're gonna want. And then when I'm cutting it, I just want to make sure that I fully get the 11 by 8 so that it gets it has everything that I need when making the bow. So I'm just kind of drawing a rough sketch of where that would be, and then I'm going to go in and cut it out to be that length. So this rectangle will eventually turn into our bow. If you have another way to make a bow and you prefer to do it that way, you can definitely do that. This is just how I find easiest to make a bow and don't have to worry about any other bow making processes that some people use. So that's square. I'm just going to put with my other fabric ready to go, and I'm just going to cut from here. I'm just going to cut a sheet that's about an inch, inch and a half wide, just so that it's enough width so when I fold it over, because I like to fold over the edges so you don't see them, that there's still enough to wrap around my piece. And I just cutting it straight down because I find that easier, and I'm going to put that over with my other pieces too. So now it's time to take everything we have. So we have our cardboard, our 4 different pieces of fabric, our bow fabric, and we're ready to take it and glue it. So I'm actually going to move you over to where I have my hot glue gun, just because of where the outlet is, and show you everything I do for that. So to start these ears, I am going to take my pieces of cardboard and my 4 little like ear molds for the pieces of fabric. So to start, you just kind of have to center the piece of fabric and the piece of cardboard, so the piece of fabric in the piece of cardboard, make sure it's fully centered. And then once you feel like it's centered, you just take a little bit of glue, and you want to do this a little bit at a time. Don't rush any of this process, or the ears won't turn out as well. The slower you go, the better. So I just make a little strip of glue, and you take the fabric and you fold it over. You don't want to stretch the fabric when you do this, just because you will be stuffing them. So if you stretch it, you're not going to have enough to stuff. I like to hold it down for a little bit just so that the hot glue kind of cools a little bit and really glues it in. Sometimes it does come up a little bit and you have to just go back around, but you just want to go slowly gluing all the way around, and then taking your fabric and folding it over ever so slightly, just to close up the fabric onto the cardboard. So now that I've gone all the way around, I just want to push down any loose pieces while the glue is still kind of warm. And I'm going to let that sit. Again, you want to leave this open till you stuff it. So I let it sit and do all 4 of them, and then I stuff them just so that the glue has a little bit of time to dry. So I'm just going to put this down here and go through my other 4. Or my other 3. So now that we have our earpieces completed and the fabric is all glued on around the edges, we're gonna now take some polyfill. This is just like stuffing, and stuff them in. You want to just start with a little piece and take it from the, obviously like the entrance, and you want to stuff it all the way to the top and try to go to the top and to the edges so you don't have like a flat edge. So I like to go to the top and then work my way around the edges, and then I'll stuff the middle. And you do want to not overstuff these, because it can bend the cardboard and make it warp so that the 2 won't glue together. So you want to make sure you stuff them, but not overstuff them. You also want to like just stuff them to what your preference is. Some people like them flatter, so you wouldn't want to stuff as much. You can also leave them flat like this if you want them flat like this. I just do think they look better stuffed at least a little bit. So I'm just going in and sticking in a little bit of stuffing to give them that like curved ear look, so that they're kind of rounded, so you can see how they're like rounded. So I just want to make sure all the edges get some stuffing, and then that the middle also gets some too. So now that I have all 4 ears stuffed, I do like to make sure that they're all about even, so I kind of just feel them, make sure they're all about even. I am now going to close them up. So to close them up, you just make sure all the stuffing's in, and then you just take a strip of glue and put it along the bottom border. And then you fold the flap. You can either cut off the excess flap. That's what some like to do if it's a lot of excess. I have a tendency just to fold it over, unless it's like ridiculous amount of excess flap. And I also like to just make sure all the sides are closed up. So if there's any like of the little corners that overlaps and stuff, you want to just make sure those are fully closed up. And I'm going to do this for all 4 of the ears. This is when like you want to make sure they're all stuffed evenly and that there's no extra like fabric, because this is when you're gonna kind of get to the finishing processes of making each ear. The reason I want to make sure they're all even is you are going to be putting 2 of them together. So if you have ears that are kind of two that are really big and two that are small. You do want to put like one big one with one small, just so that the the one ear is not much bigger than the other ear on your headband. So now that all 4 ears are closed up, I'm just going to take each pair of them and kind of line them up to see which two work best together so that they are matching in size. So I just kind of take them and hold them next to each other and see if they look good. Also, like which designs, if there's a certain design I want to have on the front. So I kind of want like this one to be on the front, so I'm going to make sure that that's on one ear. And then if there's another one specifically that I want to be on the front, I think I'm going to do this one also on the front. So instead of putting those 2 ears together, yeah, I'm going to put them on on opposite ears. So I'm taking the 2 that I want on the front and making sure that they're on opposite ears. Maybe these 2 together, and just finding 2 that look good together. So like that one looks good together and that one, and I want to make sure that they're stuffed evenly. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take each pair of ears and just put a strip of glue around the outside. I'm actually going to need another glue stick. So I'm just going to stick another glue stick in here, but put a strip of glue around the outside and then kind of a little pieces of glue throughout the middle, and use that to glue the 2 ears together. I mean, this is your your final step on making these 2 ears kind of hold together. So I'm just going to take the 2, put them together, and just kind of hold that down so that they're fully secure together. So I just kind of squeeze it down. I mean, all that's in it is stuffing, so it does squeeze together pretty well. I like to squeeze the edges just to make sure everything is together. And now I'm going to do that with this, do the same thing with the other ear. So I'm just going to put a strip of glue around the border of it, and then I'm going to take it and put some glue down the middle and then squeeze the 2 together. After this is when we're going to decide which trim we want to use, and that just kind of covers up any loose fabric pieces. As you can kind of see, like you can see like in between the 2 ears, the 2 pieces of the ear. So the trim just helps to close that off and make it less obvious on that there's like 2 pieces of fabric put together, versus if you sewed it, you wouldn't really need the trim because it would be sewn shut right here. So for the trim, I decided to use the rope looking one. I just think that looks cleanest. There is a couple other ones that look clean, which I kind of like, where I thought the flower one, you could still kind of see the crack through it. So for this one, I'm going to use the rope. So what I want to do is just kind of wrap it around and measure it out. So just want to make sure that it wraps around the whole thing and that I don't have too little or too much. So once I measure it out, I just cut it off. And for this rope, what I like to do is the second I cut it, just so that it doesn't fray, I like to take a little dab of glue and just kind of glue all the ends together, just so that it all stays together. This one has a tendency to split apart, so I find that that's easier and makes it easier when actually making each project. And even if for the next project, whenever I want to use this rope again, it's easier if it's glued together. So I'm just going to take a small amount of glue again and go around my ear, and then take the rope and put it into that little glue like divot and wrap it all the way around the ear, doing a small piece at a time. Now I'm going to take the second one and just measure that out just to see how much rope I will need for that one. There is so many different forms of trim or fabric you can use. You can also find a lot of Disney fonts online, not fonts, styles online. So for the fabric, if you want to use, like I have that Star Wars one that has specific like characters or like ships on it, there's so many you can find for your favorite characters. Or you can kind of go like the style of like my up ones, that it's more like just like representational of what the movie is trying to show or the character is trying to show, and not actually a physical picture of the character. I do have other ones similar to the Star Wars that's certain Disney fabric that has like characters on it. So it's all up to personal preference on the design you make. If there's any ear style you would like to see me try to like make or find fabric for, definitely let me know. I'm looking into possibly finding some Chip and Dale fabric just because that's my favorite character. But so far I haven't found one that I really like, that I think would make a good ear pattern. So I'm still looking into that. So if there's any like pattern or ears that you think would look cool, or you have a cool Disney idea for, definitely let me know. Or like which one's your favorite ears out of like the ones you own. I do still, even though I think these are way more comfortable than the Disney ears, just having your own headband and stuff, you can pick one that fits you best. So I do like that part of the custom ears, and I like that you can add your own style to them, but it's not going to stop me from buying ears in the parks. There is a pair of ears that I'm planning on buying on my next trip. They're like graduation, it's like a graduation ear set, just because it's my graduation year and I want to get that. But there's definitely tons of ear designs you can make. So here is the 2 ears that now have rope on them. So these I'm just going to put aside while we make the bow, and then we'll be ready to put them on the headband. So for making my bow, I'm just laying out my piece of fabric. You can either glue this down as you go, or I like to glue it kind of near the end. So I just have my piece of fabric laid out. I want to fold each side, the 2 ends into the middle so that they kind of overlap a little bit in the middle, and that would be my midpoint. I like to then just take it and glue it a little bit on the ends, just so that you don't want to use a ton of glue in this, or it makes parts of the bow really thick. That's kind of hard to fold when you have to fold this. So I just take it and put a little glue on each end, just to glue down the ends. And like I said, we're trying to make it so we don't see like the fraying ends. So that's why this gets folded into the middle of your bow. And then now I'm going to take these 2 ends and I'm going to fold each one over, just like as small amount as I can, and then fold it into the middle. Like so. And then I'm going to take the same thing with the other side. I'm going to fold the edge over and then fold it into the middle. So you want to make sure that that edge stays folded over. And I like to make sure that these are even, because this is kind of where how I like to center my bow. So I just want to make sure these are kind of perfectly in the middle. And once I have them in the middle, you have your little like square rectangle. I like to put a little strip of glue across, and then a little strip of glue across. I find if you put a large strip down, it just builds up the glue on the inside and makes it harder to fold. So now that I have my little rectangle, I'm now going to fold my bow. So you kind of fold this like accordion style, like almost like paper fan style. So I fold the top over, then I flip it over and fold it back, then flip it back over, fold it kind of accordion style. And you want to make sure that both ends are facing the same way. So this way both ends right here on the bow are facing towards me, just so that it looks even. I think, like, see how that looks even? So this side will be my front and the other side will be back. Now I'm going to take my hot glue gun, and just in these little indents I just put a little dabble of glue, just to help hold it together. And then same on the back side, you just put a little dabble of glue in the indents of the bow where it kind of holds together. So I'm just going to kind of hold that for a moment while that dries, and then we're going to make our centerpiece for our bow. Sometimes I make this before just so you can put it right on immediately, but either way, as long as you have both pieces ready to go, that's all that matters. So to make our strip for the center, all you're going to do is take your glue and make a kind of a line down the side, and then you just fold it into the middle. It's just so that the ends aren't showing, and you don't have like the fray look to it. So I'm just taking it over and folding it over into the center. So I'm wrapping it around my bow, and the tighter you wrap it, the more the bow is gonna stick, like it's gonna stick up. So I like to do it a little bit of tightness, but not a lot. And this is kind of where the end I want it to be. So I'm actually gonna take my scissors and cut it off right here, just so that it doesn't wrap back around to the front of where my bow is. And so I'm gonna put a dabble of glue right here and put it right like that. So that is my bow, and I'm ready to put it all on my headband. So now now that we have everything together, we're gonna make our ears. So I'm going to line them up and then put the these other Mickey ears on top, just to make sure I think they look good. And now I'm going to glue them together. So I'm going to take this the hot glue and just put a bunch of it on the bottom of one ear. And then once I do that, I am then going to take it and stick it onto the headband where I think it looks appropriate. So I'm gonna go about right here, and when I do that, I really want to push in the ear and the headband together so that they really secure together where I'm trying to hold this on, and you really want the ears to stay on the headband. I'm then gonna do the same thing with the other ear. Put a strip of glue down the middle, around on the curve, and then stick it really good onto this headband and put a lot of pressure onto it. I like to do it and just make sure it's lined up before it's all fully dried. And I think that looks good. So now that I have this all done, I'm going to take it, and on this top piece right here, I'm going to put a little dollop of glue, and that's where I'm going to stick on my bow. And then I'm going to take my bow and line it up on where I think it looks good. I'm actually going to do it this way and just kind of glue it down onto that dollop and push down so that it really gets glued on. I will, while it's still a little bit warm, kind of pull off some. But here is the final ear look. I do really like these. I think they're perfect for flower garden. I also do like how the teal kind of accents this teal right here. I'll just show you what they look like on. I think they're perfect ears for me to wear to Epcot in this April for my trip. And I'm super excited to be able to rock my different ears that I've made in the parks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about how I made these ears, or if there's any steps that you're confused about, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I'd be happy to answer your questions. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the subscribe button. I post tons of content on this channel. And hit the like button if you liked it. And besides that, I'll see you guys later. Bye!